Hello, my name is Austin Belzer, and welcome to episode 3 of the Austin B Media Podcast, a short-form podcast discussing the latest in the world of movies, video games, technology, TV, music, and much more. Before we get into the heart of the show, I wanted to set some time aside to thank TSJ from moviesforreal.com for his support over on Patreon. You can check him out on Twitter and Instagram at beingtsj or on moviesforreal.com. Additionally, I would like to thank Shane Kanto. You can see his work at his YouTube channel, The Wasteland Reviewer, Sif Pops, and among others, as well as Joseph Davis. You can find all of his work on sifpop.com. If you would like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/austinbmedia or austinbmedia/support for more information. Now, let's get into what everyone wants to talk about and what I talk about a ton over on austinb.media. The first story we have today is kind of a non-story, but I just wanted to mention it anyways. Marvel Studios last week celebrates the movie spot. It showed our first look at Eternals. We don't have a trailer yet, but we do have that first look. And then we saw, I think just a bunch of them. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, pretty much everything up until from now up until 2023. And I just want to say that it's a brilliant piece of marketing. I think you could put that in front of an AMC theater spot, or when you go to the theater, when we all get back there, of course. And I think it's going to be an excellent piece of marketing to say, hey, to people who may have thought, hey, there weren't any movies in 2020 or even 2019 for that matter. Hey, there's still big budget movies coming out. Just wait a little while longer. Especially, that Eternals one looks pretty awesome. I know Chloe Zhao was saying in interviews that it was basically just going to be another Chloe Zhao movie, but I kind of didn't believe her given how much Marvel Studios tends to not give directors free reign, from my point of view. And just everything. I'm really interested to see what Wakanda Forever is going to be about, considering the unfortunate passing of actor Chadwick Boseman. Does Letitia Wright's Shuri take up the mantle? Does Winston Duke? I'm very interested to see what that's going to be about. And so yeah, I've got a link to the YouTube spot in the podcast notes. So click on that and you'll go right to the YouTube link. It's much better than hearing me talk about it sometimes. Continuing in the Marvel universe, Andrew Garfield has denied yet again, or actually no, for the first time, that he is 100% not in Spider-Man No Way Home, that he has not gotten a call, and he would have gotten a call by now. To put it plainly, this is the classic Marvel spin to avoid Spider-Man No Way Home spoilers. Given the news about Spider-Man No Way Home, I would be very hard-pressed to see, given the cast that they have for this movie, especially since Alfred Molina's Doc Ock is going to be in here, that it's not a movie just about... I don't see any world where Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland aren't fighting all the villains from a la Spider-Verse in Act 3 or Act 2 or whenever. There's going to be that big battle. It seems to be what Phase 4 is kind of building to, especially considering when you look at WandaVision and how that's kind of introduced some things from the comic books that kind of just make sense alternate reality-wise. But in interest of not spoiling WandaVision or Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm going to leave it at that. Kind of in the realm of comic books, it's been announced that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is coming out on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray on July 6th. It's kind of weird how it got announced. It the way I found out was I was on Twitter one morning. I think I was even just at drinking coffee in the morning. And I got an alert that, hey, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is coming out on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray July 6th. I think it's Wario 64. For some reason, I searched the entire day, but anyways, I think that's gonna be $19.99 if I'm not mistaken. That seems a little low, but let me check really quick. I'll have more details as that comes closer to release. And speaking of releases, we have a few Sundance films that have acquired distribution. First up, Bleecker Street bought the rights to Mass. It's I think it's Jason Isaacs led film about, the title says everything. It's about a family going to Mass. From what I heard, it's a super depressing story. I didn't get to catch it at Sundance, unfortunately. But yeah, they're going to put it in August, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So look forward to that in August. HBO Max has bought We're All Going to the World's Fair, kind of an underrated Sundance film. But and I think Utopia bought it too. So yeah, I think that's very, very interesting. Because that'll give everyone pretty much innate access to it. I mean, I don't know many people who don't have HBO, so look forward to that. There's no release date on that one as far as I'm aware. IFC Films has acquired John and the Hole. It's a weird, twisted thing about like this kid named John, and there's this hole, and well, it gets demented really fast. And then lastly, just today, this got announced. Zoe Lister-Jones' directorial debut was bought by MGM's American International Pictures, their studio. So I'll have a review closer to release on that because I kind of like reviewing it when it releases. Anyways, those don't have dates yet, but hey. That's going to be really cool when it does come out because that's a really good movie. I'm looking forward to seeing Mass, We're All Going to the World's Fair, and John and the Hole. I didn't get enough time when I was at Sundance to go see those films, so I'm very excited to go see those whenever they come out. And then lastly, before we move on, I just wanted to say that something new happened in terms of movies and me. I am now a Letterboxd HQ member. And to explain kind of what that is, Letterboxd, if you don't use it, it's a movie tracking service. You can download the mobile app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, so on and so forth. Pretty much everywhere you expect to have an app, it's there. And they have letterboxd.com. But what Letterboxd HQ is for companies like studios, publications, pretty much any business can subscribe to a tier called the HQ tier, and you can put stories and YouTube videos in there, and it basically brings Austin B Media to Letterboxd. I kind of tried to do that with my own letterbox, which is at Austin B Movies, but that kind of it works, but also doesn't because it doesn't import images. But anyways, if you want to take a look at it, it's my username there is Austin B Media, which would be letterboxd.com/Austin B Media. I've included a link in the podcast notes. So yeah, go check it out. And moving on to video games, PlayStation has done what I think has been one of their best business decisions in recent years. To give you some context, they have struck up some kind of partnership with Discord. I don't know exactly what the details of that are. They just said, hey, we're partnering with Discord, and it's like, okay, what does that mean? But this is big for them because Microsoft was going to buy Discord for $10 billion, I believe. 10 or 20 billion. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then the day after, Discord says, nope, we just want to be an independent game chat app. PlayStation came out and said, hey, Discord is now like synonymous with PlayStation because we have that partnership. Now, I know partnerships take months and months, and they don't take days. That's kind of silly to assume. But I do think the timing of that was kind of just beautiful. I'm not really invested in any kind of console war, but that I just have to call out, that was a beautiful, beautiful move by PlayStation. Because now, even if Xbox comes and says, Microsoft says, hey, Xbox will also have a partnership with Discord, it doesn't matter because Sony has already said, hey, we're partnered first. So, yeah, that's just a beautiful, beautiful move. And speaking of Microsoft thing making its way to PlayStation, Sunset Overdrive might be making its way to PlayStation. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Sunset Overdrive is a game that published by Insomniac Games, the makers of Ratchet and Clank, Resistance, among many others. And it was a Xbox exclusive for a while, and I think it's on PC now, by virtue of the Microsoft thing being a Xbox and PC kind of system. So, yeah, apparently there's some kind of trademark floating around called where Sunset Overdrive is going to be making its way to some kind of PlayStation platform, or at least that's the rumor. I think I heard that it's going to be called Sunset Overdrive Overcharged Edition or something like that, which would make sense. I loved it when I played it. I can't wait for more people to play it. So just, yeah, check it out whenever that goes live. I'm assuming that this would be something PlayStation would announce at E3 2021. That would just make sense to me if I was the company, because that's kind of just, an alley-oop saying, hey, Microsoft, we took something you had, and now we have it. So that is all for video games. Let's move on to the ever-evolving world of technology. Twitter crop is now gone. So to those who don't use Twitter, Twitter used to crop vertical images on mobile. If you had something that Twitter deemed was too tall, it would crush it down into a widescreen format, and so you'd only see about 80% of an image. And this was a big pain point because if, say, a studio wanted to post a poster, for example, that meant they had to go in and just kind of reformat it, and it just became this big headache, because you're basically creating a different version just for Twitter. It's just, and then you have to crush those details, and it just didn't look pretty. So now that's gone. Thankfully, yeah, you can post a full movie poster all you want, but you can't post that image where it's 40 feet long. So it's just bellissimo. And speaking of Twitter is rolling out something called a tip jar. They have already talked about this, but the tip jar is basically, I guess, a form of donation. Because you can connect your Patreon, Cash App, PayPal, everything like that, and basically pay people who have the tip jar feature a certain amount, and it goes straight to them. Twitter takes none of that. none of the revenue made from that tip jar. It remains to be seen what that actually means for smaller creators. I've personally contacted Twitter in the past, for these kinds of monetization issues. I do think tip jar is a step in the right direction, but I do think it's beginning with things like podcast subscriptions from like people like Apple and other storefronts that I'm not remembering right now for some reason. I think people are going to get tired of the subscription economy. So tip jar is okay, but I worry about if this expands too much, too far. But if this is a step to Twitter just saying, hey, we're the content creator platform, share your stuff here and it'll never be buried, like it is on Facebook or like it is on Instagram or like it is on practically every other service. But I'll be checking it out whenever that goes live. I don't think it's live right now because, I haven't gotten a notification about it. So, yeah. And another evolution today is that Roku is doing something. I don't understand the story as much as I'd like to. Roku, for some reason, has decided that it doesn't like YouTube TV anymore. To clarify what YouTube TV is, it's not YouTube on your TV. YouTube TV is basically what live TV, the live TV section of YouTube is. It's something you pay, I think, $60 for a month. So now Roku and Google are just kind of butting heads on this one. I don't think it's anti-consumer on the Roku side, if I'm going to put it plainly. I don't know why now for Roku, especially for a streaming platform stick that a lot of people use, especially a lot of older people use, or just people who want to get on the ground floor of the smart TV. You know, you can buy a Roku TV for about $100-$200, but now you're basically saying, hey, you can't do that. So then I worry about a world where a company can say to another company, we don't like what you're doing, so now we're just going to take that away from you. It is terrifying to me, because now those people who have subscribed to YouTube TV don't have a way to really watch it. I mean, imagine paying $60 a month or however much YouTube TV is, and then Roku saying, hey, you can't watch it. It's kind of ridiculous. No, it is ridiculous. It's just, it's corporate pettiness at its absolute worst. I hope Roku, I know you're not listening, but if you are, just stop it. I don't see why you should hold your customers hostage, for something you don't like, especially when you didn't give any of them any warning. That just doesn't seem right to me. Thankfully, YouTube has found a way around it by integrating YouTube TV into the main YouTube app, but Roku, you've got to go, or get new leadership. I don't know what you're doing over there. It took so long to get HBO Max on Roku. It takes forever to get a popular app on Roku, and it doesn't make any sense. Just stop whatever you're doing, get an entirely new leadership team, and just sit back and watch your customers be happy. I mean, really, it's as simple as that. All you have to do is sit back and let YouTube TV be its own good thing. Because consumer choice is always the best thing a company can do. Especially considering some tech news that's been circling around, namely Epic versus Apple, which is something I'm pretty nervous about. And speaking of another conglomerate, Verizon is now selling AOL and Yahoo for $5 billion, about half of what it paid back in, I think, 2009 or something like that. I know they paid $9 billion. So now that means basically AOL is no longer... I don't know what this means for AOL and Yahoo, but I would love a company for, I don't know, who would be a good one? Who would be a good fit for AOL? I think a good fit for AOL might just be itself, if I'm going to be honest. AOL is a name synonymous with internet discs, and you've got mail, and so much so they made an entire movie about it, the concept of email. And, I would love to see AOL and Yahoo make a comeback, especially considering Verizon's handling of them. It seems like Verizon's strategy with AOL and Yahoo has just been, okay, let's leave it alone and not support it at all. And that is rather unfortunate. I hope whoever gets AOL and Yahoo, I believe, I don't know if it's sold yet. No, it's a private equity firm. Okay. So I just hope, I hope that Verizon, or I'm sorry, AOL and Yahoo get the attention they deserve in whatever generation that this is, because I used Yahoo up until 2009, something like that, and I still go back every few years and look at it and say, hey, I've got a whole bunch of spam in my Yahoo mail. But jokes aside, I really think this, whatever circumstances have arisen out of the sale, I could see Yahoo or AOL becoming the next Google. I know that's a cliche phrase to use, but I really do think there's an opportunity here for AOL or Yahoo to just kind of be like, okay, we're rebranding Yahoo Mail. It's great, and you can use it with all your work apps, or not at all. And AOL, here now we have a social network or something like that. You could just get crazy with it, and I think that's going to be the best thing for either of those companies. Especially since I think was Verizon behind Yahoo Now or Yahoo Screen? I think it was. Not your best move, Verizon, if that was you. And speaking of not their best moves, Facebook has now prompted users to enable tracking on iOS 14 enabled iDevices. So there's this thing in the new update, I believe it's iOS 14 or 14.5, that Apple is now requiring developers to say, hey, here is the data that this developer is using. Do you want this? Do you not want this? And basically, people are turning it off, I'm assuming, if they have to prompt that they need users to enable this. I don't see any other reason other than a massive breach in data collection. I don't see a thing where this is even remotely justified. But they say they've got to keep it free. That's the way they keep it free, is to track data. So, there's a time and a place to track data. I track data on austinb.media. I track devices, and all this is laid out in my privacy policy. But there's an inherent responsibility with data collection. With Facebook, it just seems to be like, okay, how much can we learn about this person until we just know their entire habits, so much so that we can predict them? And that gives me a very uneasy feeling, especially since I use Facebook and Instagram for my business. It's one of the reasons why I've kind of stepped away from Facebook and Instagram is you don't own anything on there. It's just this weird. It's all weird. And I hope Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook Inc. in this case, I kind of hope they backtrack on this, because Google's gonna implement the same thing next year. I saw that earlier today, or maybe next year. I can't. It's gonna be soon that they're gonna require the same kind of data transparency, and I don't think Facebook and Instagram are quite prepared for that. But with that, I will leave you with these things. Recently posted my Nomadland review, the audio review of which you can check out on this very feed. I published the newsletter, which you can find on the website, I believe. And for patrons, I published my Mortal Kombat review. And I'm going to be publishing a whole lot more this week. I'm going to be working on a whole lot of reviews. Namely, one of them is Together, a film I saw at Sundance. So without further ado, this is Austin Belzer signing off. If you'd like to be kept up on all things Austin B Media, you can go to my website at austinb.media. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at austinbmedia, on Twitter at austinbmedia_. And then you can also subscribe to my newsletter, Austin B Updates, using the newsletter sign-up form embedded in this podcast notes. And if you'd like to get one-day early access among a whole ton of other things, you can check that out using the link in the description, patreon.com/AustinBmedia.